I'm a big believer of it's not just my way or the highway. We're a family, we work together, we're a team. I say all the time, teamwork makes the dream work. We have laundry bins that we use for like our water bottles and things like that we have for each team. So we don't have the kids running back and forth, because in the front gym, it's also where our parent traffic goes into our parent room upstairs. I love watching the videos of our kids open up the pro shop stuff. Like it just makes my heart warm, like they get so excited. We did these really cute bomber jackets that everybody just loved. The biggest change for my business was being part of Next Gen, to be honest.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Cheer Biz podcast. I'm your host, Dan Cotton, and today we are getting to sit down with one of our Academy members. I'm going to let her introduce herself a little bit more, but one of the reasons we've invited Devon onto the podcast is we have our highest tier group of gym owners. And every month, because we're all in a competitive atmosphere, we compare numbers. And one of those numbers we look at is average revenue per member per month, or what we'll refer to throughout most of this call as your ARM. And Devon is kind of at the top of that list of all of our owners. And so she's really crushing it in that zone and a couple others. She's not doing badly in others, but on that one, she's getting the first place finish. She's got the 5 out of 5 execution. So we wanted to bring her on, pick her brain, and help you figure out how you can also implement some of the things that she's doing in her gym. So I'm going to let Devon introduce herself, her gym, and just why don't you tell our listeners who you are and what you're up to, how you got started in this crazy world of cheerleading.
Sure. Hello, everyone. My name is Devon Bobe. I am the owner of Cheer Force Elite in South Jersey. We've been in business this is our 11th season. We started with just 23 athletes, working out of someone else's gym, actually. And now we're up to about 150 team athletes and 300 total with all of our tumbling programs and such. I got started, actually, I cheered a little bit when I was younger. My sister was cheering for a local rec team. And so they needed coaches. So I volunteered. And I was there probably about 15 years. And then I really just fell in love with the sport, fell in love with working with the athletes, coaching, and just kind of helping them become better humans. And I decided to kind of try and make this my full-time gig, because I worked in the corporate world for 15 years and it just was not for me. I had to travel a lot and be away from my family, which was kind of difficult. So, so here we are.
Awesome. Wow. So you went from a fairly small gym to now what some people might consider is like a large gym. Like imagine you, when you had 23 athletes, you were like, you would have looked at your numbers and been like, that's huge, but you're not in that mega gym realm. You don't have 700 all-stars under one roof. So how did you get started? Because you hear it all the time from really small gyms, right? I only have 23 kids. There's no way I can ever have that many. What was the first shift in realizing that you were capable of bringing in that many kids?
So it definitely was not an easy process, right? I mean, starting from the beginning, you're always like, oh, I want more. It was just baby steps, to be honest. We started, like I said, in somebody else's gym. And then when we felt we were ready to obtain our own facility, we started in a warehouse, but we split the warehouse with massive amounts of storage. Like at one point we had race cars on the other side of our warehouse. Yes. Wow. So then we took over the other side, and kind of, just took baby steps. So we took over the whole warehouse, then the front part of our building, and then now we actually have the whole entire facility. But we became a Next Gen member, probably about, I think it's been 2 years. Mm-hmm. And that has been probably the biggest help, with getting our business kind of situated and moving in the right direction. Anywhere from marketing to just processes and working, to train our coaches, et cetera. So it's been a great ride for sure.
So how big is your space?
So right now we have about 10,000 square feet, roughly total.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
So
it's not too big.
Yeah. Even though you've grown in footprint, I mean, 10,000 square feet it's not massive.
No.
How much? I think you're going to answer my question. How much equipment do you have? Like, what does your layout look like?
Yep. So we have a full 9-panel spring floor, and then we have a 7-panel spring floor, and then we have a 30-foot tumble track. And then the front of our building, so it's like a warehouse flex space. We have an upstairs and a downstairs. So originally we didn't have that front part because we just couldn't afford it at that point. But at this point, our downstairs, it's like, it used to be our parent waiting room. It is now turned into like the tumble gym, or where we warm up teams when they first come in. So we have like our floor plan that we put together. That's like organized chaos is what I like to call it. But we have, a time for every single team that comes in, or classes and so forth. So we really like utilize our space well. We definitely have outgrown our space. So we're in the process of hopefully finding new space, but that's been difficult. But we definitely work well with our smaller facility.
So with that kind of a space and having 150 all-stars and 300 rec kids, what are you doing to make that all work? Like how are you cramming all of those people into the gym?
Yep. So we have, we run about 3 tumble classes on our 9-panel spring floor. We separate it out. We have cones that we use to separate the tumble classes. And then we usually, we separate our 7-panel into 2. So we'll do a lot of that. Any tiny tumble classes, or even like our fundamentals ones, so our very beginner, we can sometimes run those classes in our front gym. But our coaches are very, very good at getting through the organized chaos and working together. We have laundry bins that we use for like our water bottles and things like that we have for each team. So we don't have the kids running back and forth, because in the front gym, it's also where our parent traffic goes into our parent room upstairs. So it can be a little bit crazy in there, but I try my best to, when I'm there, just to make sure everybody's kind of following the floor schedules that we put out in advance to our coaches.
So tell me, the main reason we scheduled this call is to talk about average revenue per member per month. And so that means that you make a high mark of how much money comes in per person that's coming into your gym. And I believe yours is like well over 225. I can't remember the exact number off the top of my head.
Yes.
And you have a high number of rec. You have double the rec kids than you do in All-Star, which for those who aren't doing the math of mathing, the more you have of rec kids who generally pay less than All-Stars because they don't have all the assessments and everything attached, the more it's going to drop your arm because you're averaging it amongst everyone. So how are you accomplishing that? How are you keeping that high arm with such a high rec presence? Yes.
So for 2023, the biggest things that we've done is one, this was probably the biggest thing for this season is I stepped into more of an owner role. Before I would coach 2 or 3 teams a year. I don't coach a team for the first time in 23 years. So that has been a huge change for me to allow to put things in place, processes, and so forth. So that was our biggest thing. We increased our class prices at the beginning of 2023, which can be a little nerve-wracking, right, when you're doing that in general. But Shelly through NextGen really helped me to get through that and kind of implement the process for it. So anybody that was registered with us prior, we kept them at the same low rate that they, were used to. Anyone that came in new in 2023 paid the higher rate. We did an evaluation of all of the gyms locally, including gymnastics and other youth recreational programs. So like even soccer and, all of the things in our area, dance, all that. And we definitely were way underpriced. So that was probably the biggest change for 2023. And then also too, our pro shop. I used to do all of that myself. And as you know, as a gym owner, you can kind of wear yourself a little thin. So my daughter, my oldest daughter, she took on the pro shop coordination. So that process has been amazing. We did quite a bit in our Christmas sale in November that we've ever done. We've done about 11,000 in sales. So that was fantastic. So that has been a lot of it. We've implemented the items of the month, and just kind of streamlining that process where that's one of her main focuses. So that was like the second or third thing that we did. And then we also took our private lessons through the gym. So our private lessons, kind of the process per se that the customers would come in and use at the beginning of the year was seemed to be a little difficult. It just wasn't very organized. Someone would call the front desk and we would say, okay, let me reach out to the coach. And it was just a lot of back and forth. So we really streamlined that process, and the coaches are really happy with that too.
So the coaches actually were receptive to you changing the private lesson structure?
So to be honest, at first, there was a little bit of pushback for sure, because, it was cash only and so forth. But after I went through the whole process with them, and it allowed us to do it through our iClass system. And I just felt like we were missing opportunities, and I felt like they were missing opportunities. So I even said to them, I said, I know it kind of doesn't seem, like a good thing. I said, but I feel like you will then make out better. And to be honest, every single one of them has said that they have, they're booking privates constantly every week, consistently. And it's been a lot better, to offer our customers because now they can do it right online.
They can do it online. Your instructors don't have to carry their own independent insurance. Like there's a lot of positives. Correct. Right. Yes. Have you seen private lesson sales increase then?
Yes. So to be honest, we really didn't track that before before 2023. And so we changed that probably at the beginning. And yes, we have seen a huge increase in that. Because people would call before and we would say, okay, let's talk to the coach. I'll put you with the right coach. Sometimes people get missed, or, they just wouldn't contact back, or there would be miscommunication between the coaches and the customer. So it really allowed a great opportunity and more, just to make the process a lot easier for the customer.
Did you ever have those kind of situations where a coach would schedule their own private lessons and then they didn't show up, or there was like some sort of an issue and then the parent was mad at you and you were like,
well, not usually. Our coaches were usually pretty good with that. I mean, we maybe had like one or two instances where that has happened, but a lot of times what we were finding is, they would book that and then the customer wouldn't show up or things like that. And then the coach would be there, would lose out on some money and so forth. So we, with our iClass system, it requires them to pay for it up front. And then we do charge like a cancellation fee if it's done within like 24 hours and so forth. But so we, it definitely has helped streamline.
Awesome. And then you mentioned raising prices. And I know sometimes people are like, there's either two responses in my experience when you tell people like, hey, if you want to increase your revenue, like raise your prices. One is like, well, yeah, I know. Or number two is, I know, but I'm really not comfortable with that. And I'm really scared. And that freaks me out. Which camp were you in? Or maybe both, maybe.
I was kind of both. Yeah, I was kind of both. It was something that I knew that I had to do, but I didn't really look at it. And I got a little nervous because we do run a very large recreational program for tumbling. And so I was nervous to do it, but Shelly was like, no, here's what I want you to do. And, we put a whole process together. She said, contact 10 local and see where you fit in. Right. And so when I did that, I was like, oh man, I am like super low. So I realized that that definitely was something that we needed to do,
And you went outside of cheer, right? You didn't just contact
Correct.
and look at local cheer gyms.
Correct.
Looked at other sports.
Yes. Yes. So I looked at dance, soccer, even baseball, like, baseball privates, like, and things like that, and classes like pitching classes and so forth.
Did you find anything interesting as you went through that in terms of which sports charge like way more versus a lot less?
So dance actually charges a lot. I was actually kind of shocked. Baseball as well. A lot of those, baseball can be pretty pricey. Yeah. And even gymnastics, like our program versus like an actual gymnastics program with bars and beams and so forth. I was like sticker shocked a little bit.
Yeah. And so how did you go about determining your pricing?
So we used a formula and kind of based off. So we would charge $62 a month. That's kind of what we did from, when the beginning.
And what would that get them?
So that would get them one tumble class a week for an hour. And then, so we increased our price to $79. We didn't want to get too crazy, and go too much, because we still wanted to remain competitive. But we really just assessed, the whole process.
When are you going to raise prices again?
So, probably maybe a little bit more mid-year this year, or maybe the end of the year. We're working on some things behind the scenes.
Okay. I like that. But you do have that in your head space of like, hey, we're going to do this again. Maybe 79 isn't where we're going to be for the next decade.
Yes, correct. Yeah, we definitely won't be there for the next decade. So it's something that I am thinking about for the ends of 2024, maybe mid 2024. It really just depends on how things go over the next couple months.
Okay. Have you noticed a change in the business just in general as you've gone through these shifts in making sure your arm is actually where it's at? Like what kind of impact does that have on you as an owner or you as a business?
So it has helped to offer more things to our customers. When we were looking at everything overall, like what can we do to provide more value, right? And that also helps with parents or our customers wanting to, spend more money with the company because they see the more value in it. A lot of our pro shop stuff, like parents would ask for certain things. And me, I'm like, I just don't have time to put that all together. But now that we have a designated person, it makes it a lot easier. So it's just amazing. Like I love watching the videos of our kids open up the pro shop stuff. Like it just makes my heart warm, like they get so excited. We did these really cute bomber jackets that everybody just loved.
Oh yeah, I imagine.
Yeah, they just love them. So, it's helped to move everything in the right direction financially, to be honest.
How are you sourcing all? I know you're not in the process now. You've assigned that out. You've delegated it to someone. But how does your pro shop work? How does your sourcing work? Because I know we missed you at conference this last weekend. But that was one of the conversations that came up during kind of an open question and answer period was pro shop, and a lot of like, I've got all this old stock. What do I do with it? And then some questions of like, well, how do you make it happen? Where do you get stuff? How do you do these subscription boxes? And I don't need you to do a tutorial of how to set it all up, but what is it that you guys are doing that prevents you from carrying a whole bunch of stock and losing money while also providing really great pro shop things?
Yep. So the biggest thing that we've done is have an item of the month. So it's like 2 or 3 items that, maybe the parents have wanted to see. So we did, like right now, we just put out, I'm in my cheer mom era. right? And then we also put out like in my cheer era for like the athlete, excuse me. So, that's that. And then we also put team name shirt, like the team specific designs for the teams, for each individual team with little sayings on the back and so forth. These are things that parents have been asking for. So we made them an item of the month. And then a lot of the stuff that we do ourselves, to be honest. A lot of the Christmas stuff we have outsourced. We did a lot through Facebook, where we found a lot of the bling items, like kind of what I'm wearing right now. And we put that out. We give it about 2 weeks, and we do a lot of pre-sales so that we don't get stuck with a lot of leftover inventory, because that's kind of where you can get stuck a little bit sometimes. And then we do a lot of stuff for our showcases. So, we do a huge inventory for that. We don't do a lot. We maybe do like 10 per size or things like that. We do smaller, but that's when we do like the bigger inventory, but we do all of that ourselves.
And when you say do it yourselves, what do you mean?
So we design the shirts. So my daughter designs a lot of the shirts. And then we have like an online place that does the transfers. We have a couple heat presses at the gym, all that stuff. And we even like order bling decals and so forth.
So you will order those transfers. You'll order
Correct.
those
T-shirts,
those bling transfers, and
Yep.
you'll order the blanks and all that stuff. And then you bring
Yes.
it together and press.
Yep.
Do you press?
Yes, I do. Actually, I did all of our Black Friday stuff. Yep. But before I would do it all myself. But now that she kind of does that, she's really good at it. She loves that stuff.
I ask because I hate pressing.
I know.
Like
it's not fun.
I despise it. I know there's some people that find it really exciting.
Yeah. I usually put on a good podcast actually and just get it done. Yeah.
Sure. And I can see how you can make it not miserable.
Yes.
I get stressed out about like the organization and is it centered right? And then you make that error where you put the wrong logo on the wrong garment because you were moving too fast, or it stresses me out. It's not my jam.
No, I know. It can be a little stressful, especially when you're doing like the bling stuff and like a couple of the bling items, like the rhinestones don't glue. Then you have to like go back, and that stresses me out, that part.
Yeah. How much of your monthly revenue is coming from that pro shop, private lessons, kind of add-ons?
Yep. So, let's see. We did, I have just my overview in front of me right now. Let me see. I'm going to pull up my computer. That's okay.
As you're pulling that up, another question I would have, and I think comes up from a lot of people, is it's great you offer private lessons through the gym. How do you get those rec tumblers to take private lessons? Because a lot of gyms feel like it's their all-star kids that value extra reps like that. And the recreational kids, because they're a little more like, woohoo, this is fun, are less likely to sign up for those things.
Yes. So we have, we do skill tracking every month for our tumble kids, that's just separate to our recreational. And so if, we've kind of trained the coaches, if a kid is they have like everything else has 3 stars and their forward roll just has 2, and they just need that one thing to move up. I tell them all the time, like I kind of go from the parent standpoint. Let me know. I would love to spend that money to help my daughter progress. You know what I mean? So a lot of times it's about the coaches having the conversation with the parent saying, hey, Sally has 3 stars on everything else. She's so close to this forward roll, and helping her move up into the next class. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Because we level them up and we give them medals when they kind of do their level up assessments. But then a lot of times it's just about having the conversation with the parent, and in the class setting, sometimes it's hard to be able to have Sally focus on just her forward roll. Maybe a 30-minute private would really help to, be more consistent on that skill and, kind of just really educate the parent on it. Because a lot of times they don't know what they don't know.
So you do a lot of education for the parents. You also have incentive to make those achievements so they potentially want that one-on-one attention. Makes sense.
Yes.
I love it.
Yes.
So I had asked a question before that was like directly about numbers that you were pulling up. How big of a revenue boost is that doing for you to do all the pro shop stuff? Because I think that's really the biggest thing for a lot of owners, especially who may not have an amazing daughter who can take all that stuff on for them. And they maybe don't feel like they have that person to delegate to. I know it, an owner's time is limited. And so sometimes it's like, I just don't have any more room, any more capacity for something that is not going to be worth my time. So how much has it improved your revenue?
So our revenue for Pro Shop was about 25,000 in 2023. That was definitely a pretty nice boost. Yeah. November was our biggest. We did a little bit over 11,000. And that was mostly it was fantastic, to be honest. There were some great products in there, stuff that I probably would have never even suggested to put in there. She was really good at finding the right things, finding the great designs. She really has done a great job with it.
That's awesome. And do you mind sharing what your margins are on Pro Shop?
So it depends really. If it's something that we do ourselves, it's a little bit higher. We aim to be about 40%. There's the payroll for that is it helps her to increase the prices and stuff. And
you include payroll into your cost of goods, or
correct.
When you say that 40% is just what's left over at the end completely?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes. We have a report that we kind of manually go in and do where it has like the cost of the item, how much it's going to cost to ship. If we have to press it, how much to charge, like include in the profit for that as well.
That's great. And do you have a lot of your recreational kids doing private lessons and purchasing things from the Pro Shop?
Yeah, actually, a lot of times they come in and they do look for a lot of Pro Shop items. So we tend to, when we do pre-order sales, I'll order maybe like 3 extras of each one, you know what I mean? And then kind of put that in the Pro Shop. So right now we have a bunch of Sherpas in there. They love the Sherpas, the sports bras, just regular plain ones that are like inexpensive that they just love to, purchase. So yeah, we have seen a nice increase in that.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, I think that everyone, when they first join, is like, okay, give me something to wear. Give me like they're likely to buy. And I was always a big, I don't want to carry anything in stock. I don't want to have to clear stuff. But if you make it simple, you make it something that you can keep for essentially years, and you're just selling to new people, you're not thinking about those all-stars who've been with you for a long time who, they don't want to buy the tank top that just has your logo on it, or the t-shirt or the sweatshirt that just has the logo. Now they might buy a Sherpa because those are always fun.
They're always fantastic.
But those kind of just basic things, those basic sports bras, unless they're like, oh crud, we forgot our practice clothes today. We don't have anything to practice in. Mom's like, well, I guess you're going to go buy a sports bra. But yeah, I found that to be very helpful for us, and you're capitalizing at the moment when those rec people are ready to spend their money. So awesome. I love that. Well, do you have any secrets, any nuggets, anything you're doing in your gym that you're really excited about that we maybe haven't talked about, or words of wisdom for coaches or owners who are listening to the episode?
Well, first and foremost, I know the biggest change for my business was being part of Next Gen, to be honest. It helped me to kind of like get it together per se, because, and kind of focus on what I need to focus on and have a plan and planning and kind of getting involved, and not being afraid to be in every aspect of the business and allowing people to kind of take over certain things, like we have a tumble director now, and I've stepped out of the coaching role, and I'm kind of letting all the coaches coach the teams and so forth. And they're actually doing a fantastic job. So finding the right people can be difficult, but when you find them, you got to make sure that you keep them. And then implementing and holding yourself accountable. That's been the biggest thing through Next Gen. Having my coaching calls with Shelly have been great. It's almost like therapy a little bit, but it's very, very, very helpful. They've helped me to do just these kinds of things with this business.
Yeah. I mean, I love hearing that, obviously. But it's one of those things that actually kind of came up this weekend where there were, and I'm not calling anyone out in particular, a couple gym owners that were there that were just there for conference, and some people who kind of had the opinion of like, well, I already know this stuff that I'm learning in this class. And my always question is like, I mean, great, but are you executing? Like, are you actually doing it? And we as coaches all day long can explain to someone like, hey, you need a tumbling coach. Even if right? How many of you love it when a kid does something wrong and they respond, I know, when you tell them, hey, you need to make sure your arms are up by your ears. They were dropping. I know. Okay, well, if you know, then why didn't you do it? That's sometimes how I feel with like coaching gym owners is, and look, I need a coach for my business too. And I'm a business coach because there's things that I know, like half the time we're talking to our business coach and they're like, you should be doing this. And we're like, I know, I just haven't gotten to it. But that person to like be helping you plan and helping you execute just makes all the difference in terms of that exponential growth. So it's funny to me when people are like, well, I already know. Like, yeah, I know, like I'm reading Danielle's book. Do I probably know everything in Danielle's book? Yes. Am I going to still get actionable items out of reading Danielle's book? 100%. Because I'm going to look at that and go, highlight, have not done this yet. Right? Like I know I'm supposed to do it, but I haven't done it yet.
Yes,
so
for sure.
I love that. Well, I really appreciate your time. I know you're very busy. Any other like big things that you feel the audience needs to hear? This is your moment. This is your time to talk to the cheer industry and the Next Gen community.
Just, when you are looking at your business, look at all things and sometimes sit there in your facility and just watch, what's going on, where things could be improved, and have those conversations, and rely on your coaches too, to have those conversations with you. That's important too. They are the ones that are in there working hard. And a lot of times they're very, very knowledgeable, and very helpful in those situations as well. So, I'm a big believer of it's not just my way or the highway. We're a family, we work together, we're a team. I say all the time, teamwork makes the dream work, and it's so true. Like that has been, I think, the biggest thing for us, like just having a great staff, and having them all kind of one common goal and working in that direction.
I feel like there are probably some listeners who are like, great that you're telling me to have a great staff, but my staff isn't great right now. So that might be another whole conversation we have to have about building a great staff, because it's hard, right? That's something you have to really work on. Most gyms I know have gone through periods of their staff not being aligned and not being on the same page. And if you've never gone through that and you're listening to this, you're lucky. Good job.
That's for sure.
Keep it up. Keep doing what you're doing because it's clearly working.
Right.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us. It has been absolutely a pleasure chatting with you. Lots of great ideas, lots of things that people can implement. So if you're listening to the episode and you're walking away and you don't know what you should be doing to increase your average revenue per member per month, we talked about raising prices. We talked about bringing private lessons in-house, and we talked about pro shop and selling more merch and things like that. So those are our three main focuses. And honestly, those are three of the big things to focus on. They are the most likely to increase your revenue immediately. Private lessons and raising pricing being the two most impactful right away with the least amount of effort, because you're already charging people. So you're just changing a number, and you're already probably running private lessons. You're just now running them through the gym. And if you need more reasons for running it through the gym, listen to the previous episodes on all the legal risks of not doing it through the gym, because they're pretty substantial. The last thing I would just say is if you need help with any of this stuff, if you're listening and you're like, great, really good for Devon because she had Shelly give her the entire plan for how to raise prices, but I don't know how to raise prices or I don't know how to do that market research, reach out. We've got coaches ready and waiting to help you in the academy. That's my shameless plug moment. All right. Thank you so much for joining us, everyone. And with that, we're going to catch you on the next episode.